point?
I think so. Good. Red square. Well, I'm just going to start off with one poem. Get us started, and everybody can get a chance. This is a poem that was published in 2012 in right-hand pointing. I just want to begin. Hopefully I can cause summer to come on with this poem called Summer. Bring on the bronze knees of summer, the long shadows of boys on bicycles, babies under stroller canopies, surly flannel belly seniors out for a walk. Bring on the sun-bathing co-eds, central back, an untight string, men sideways scans, hoping for a surprise. Bring on the old ladies in floppy hats and canvas gloves, kneeling at their flower beds. They have the cultivated beauty of wisdom and patience. Bring on the tangle of toil and jubilee, lightning, tinsel thunderstorms, warm days kissing skin crimson, all done to the tempo of bronze knees, swaying to the tune of turning pages.
This first poem is pretty appropriate for a coffee shop. It's called Climbing the Ladder of Lightning. I'm turning on the power of power. I'm powering up the path of potential. I'm amping up an arc of action. I'm generating juice. I'm getting wired. I'm conducting current. I'm climbing the ladder of lightning. I'm getting out of bed. Then what? A funnel cloud of fear, a kettle of rage, a tsunami of sadness, a rag bag of remorse, a neverland of despair. Then I had my first cup of coffee. I wrote this poem in about 10 minutes after experiencing the Sheboygan West African drum and dance community. It's called djembe. And the name of the drum, djembe, is a West African origin, and it means everyone gathered together in peace, which is what the idea of the drum is. The air hand strikes the skin of the drum, beat enters the ear, but doesn't stop then. It vibrates the visceral body drum. Beat of the drum makes the diaphragm hum. The body drum gets the head to forget, to lighten the load of the sad, sad road. The body drum gets the feet to tap, the hips to sway, and the hands to clap. It does all this in America, 4,000 miles from West Africa, the birthplace of the djembe drum, the healer of men. We were down in Baja a few years ago, and we were paddling around with kayaks and stuff. We paddled around and we saw flying fish and we saw beautiful scenery and all that stuff on the one side. They told us to go on the other side to Magdalena Bay, which is on the Pacific side of the Baja Peninsula. And so we got in this little boat, and it's called a panga, small boat. There's a couple of couples in it. Anyway, it's called The Tail of the Whale. In the watery depths below our tiny panga boat, a vast gray presence moves. Then suddenly, "Yahiya, stop!" cries the panga man. There she blows, La Balena. An enormous bulk surges up. A mountain of mammal dwarfs our boat, rising and glowing a few feet away. A leviathan so colossal, yet so gentle, so curious. Checking out these strange boat beings in an airy world above hers, as astonished we behold a watery wonder before us. Eyes, human and cetacean, meet, each trying to comprehend. Then she dives, and as if in salute, she raises her tail flukes above us. We touch her tail, we high-five a whale.
Oh. This is a little epigraph by Eckhart Tolle. The first recognition of beauty was one of the most significant events in the evolution of human consciousness. The first recollection of beauty. So I wrote this: the survival of the lovingness. Many thousands of years ago, a flower grows. Nearby, a man raises his spear to a deer, then stops, startled by new light in the bush, a glow rooted in earth. It pulls him close, as before only woman could. Eats it with his eyes, tastes beauty, touches his nose to it, smells joy. Flower's sweet light shines inside him. Uproots it, shows it to woman, rising from a veil of leaves. Faces flower with feeling. Man and woman touched. Touch. A saber-tooth, poised to spring at the hunter, confused by the change to two-legged, now four-legged, takes the deer instead. Thank you so much. Thank you. The picture is really cool, and we see videos, but with a poem, you can actually kind of be right there. And that's kind of why we're here tonight, right? Share our histories. We've experienced something so significant that we wanted to record it on paper or computer screen. And then just to do more than just express that. We need to spend a little bit more time with that event, that thing we're writing about, and then we want to use those exact words to do it justice. So thank you. Our next speaker is Gary.
Give you a segment of my autobiography, which took place in Costa Rica in 1968, which I call A Walk in Paradise. During Wisconsin's spectacular flaming autumn panorama, I saddled my thumb and headed down to and through the uprisings in Central America, all the way down to Panama's Big Dig. That took about a week or two, give or take a sun and moon or two. Throughout my travels, I had eaten in bustling marketplaces with pennies, slept in parks out of sight, at Red Cross facilities, Peace Corps camps, buildings under construction, and backyard gardens of people who invited me into their homes. They usually had a backyard trellis where I took an icy pounding shower. Each Central American country was a slice of dangerous dessert. This particular indulgence began just across the border from Nicaragua, a winding road in western Costa Rica. My first ride came from two military personnel in an open jeep. Along the way, the two suddenly pulled their bandanas over their faces and began to desperately yell at me, continuing till we approached what appeared to be a smoldering obstacle in the road ahead. As we neared, the smoke appeared wild and gritty. Then reality, a dense swarm of flies in a feeding frenzy over a long decaying ox. We sped through and beyond, but I withheld a biovolcanic eruption. The excitement heightened as the rides reached the Costa Rica's Costa del Vera mountains. In the high mountain pass lifts you into a surreal experience. As you ascend into its ethereal beauty, you enter into the cloud's foggy soul. Its ghostly domain and mist-plagued visibility. Its pass is crudely paved with rocks and boulders. A car only passes over its slippery backs in a clumsy wall. Progress was slow and punishing over its tight passage, and took us destructively close between a weathered rock wall, and the edge of oblivion. Sparsely placed boulders line the mountain's extreme outer edge, where every rich hue of green was in immediate reach. However, its tropical beauty gradually transforms by the fog's mutative mysticism into ghoulish images and nightmarish shades of pale grays the further down your eyes would dare to go. Nightfall accompanied the descent to the tiny village of San Isidro, below where the ride ended. The darkness also concealed the eerie closeness of thunderous rushing water. In the distance, flickering candlelight in the church's window guided me to a potential night's sleep. The doors were open, the church was empty. I found a place for the night. I was exhausted and soon fell asleep in its pews. Hard, however, safe and dry. I briefly had the world to myself in a pre-dawn silent darkness, then exited into it. Where I wasn't exactly sure until daylight. It wouldn't have been on my crude map anyway. However, I was there. In the course of my travels, I had to ask frequently for directions, but learned tremendously more than maps could ever tell. I began the early morning journey along a narrow cinder path dangerously close to the yet unseen tumultuous river, cautiously continuing on. I eventually found myself floating on the fragrance of fresh aromatic coffee ahead. The sole vendor on that crude trail reeled in his first catch of the day. Dawn opened in a soft-toned symphony, endowing the vale in an array of lavish greens, revealing to me I was in the midst of a rich, verdant coffee plantation, euphorically sipping its roasted heart and soul. The plush valley swallowed up all the river could give, and barely cleared the old plantation bridge I was crossing. I proceeded on the pathway westward to the mountain road to Dominical. The facing western range possessed a fresh, adventurous brilliance. As I gradually ascended higher, I took a final absorbent stare back at the valley and locked it all into memory forever. The old road, however, suffered from age-related ailments, but led me onto my destination as a father would guide his son along life's exciting journey. 2 rides came on that reclusive mountain pass that day. Between the first and final, I walked in amazement and a sobering seriousness, being in the deafening resonance of animal-orchestrated screeches and cries of rainforest creatures around, while an array of waterfalls gushed down an ebonite cliff beside me, splashing onto the roadway, necessitating barefoot traversing in its cool and shallow streams. Colorful leaves floated along until they disappeared, plunging over the steep mountainside into the silent world far below. A motionless cloud mass veiled the valley below, aglow in the sun's midday magnificence. Further on, I walked along a ridgeline of trees through which the sun rays beamed, giving me a sensation of softly strumming a harp. I eventually came to a mountain clearing with a few grass huts, and there an occupant skillfully macheted me a 5-cent pineapple lunch. It's about 3 slices. The final road took me down to the coastal region where the road ended at the banks of the Rio Barro, in view of the settlement of Dominical on the Pacific. As I contemplated on how I'd cross it, a construction grader appeared. Its driver offered to take me across. In the crossing, I carefully observed its depths and current. Should have asked about its hauntings. Once on the other side, he backed up across the river and vanished back into the lush top tropical domain. Dominical was a micro-settlement in a spacious clearing. In the distance, the coastal range bowed to the majestic Pacific. A banana plantation skirted the mountain's base. I walked over to a row of 4 or 5 weathered grass shacks, wondering if this was Dominical. One had an open door. I glanced in. eyeing a crude concrete floor and a short glass counter, wondering if this was a bakery. Olaf viewed the proprietor and hailed me in to the counter, full of baked goods. The family cat was lying comfortably across the assortment, till I selected one of the cat's pillows and bedding. When ROAM, do as the roamers do. In the brush along the riverbank, on my trek to the ocean, I caught a glimpse of an upright running lizard briefly following me. A little eerie, especially when no one is around. The voice of the Pacific called louder as I neared, while the river's flow whispered its exhausted passing into the overwhelming Pacific. I reached the beach area and the boastful roar of an ominous ocean. But the beach was crowded with thousands, no doubt the most popular beach in Costa Rica, all fiddler crabs, multiple thousands. I reluctantly then angrily advanced, kicking sand, clearing the passage. Yeah, I was a beach poet. I briefly set my duffel bag down, too cautious to even sit. I stood at the edge of a steep embankment to the pounding surf, standing before its discouraging, strong undertow. Around me, the hordes of angry fiddler crabs began closing in, retaking the beach. I quickly grabbed my sack and kicked my way back. The voice of the Pacific faded along with my plans as I disappointingly retreated back to the riverbank. There I faced a dreaded challenge: cross a possibly perilous jungle river. No bridges yet spanned the 75-plus foot wide river. I carefully scanned its banks, then cautiously traversed it, scanning wildly in every direction, till safely across and steep to the chest like a timid teabag. You dry off by the sun's generosity, or tomorrow you might need your sods you conveniently packed away yesterday. We're wearing the soggy clothing until the sun dried it off. But I decided to take another route eventually into Panama. Besides, I had had enough adventure for that day and reflected on the high mountain trek to Dominican Hell, accounting it to have been a walk in paradise. A trekking author's footnote, where I slept later that eventless night, I can't recall. Where I was that day, I will never forget.
Paul, please come on up. You to share.
This is a poem called Last Words, an Assemblage. I am waiting to board a boat full of white snow, and it is easier to imagine the end of things than it is the beginning. Do you hear the rain? Do you hear the rain? It's been so long since I drank champagne and tasted salt on silky skin, but the fog is rising and I must go in. I want to find some other place where the face I wear is not my face, where I can trade blue eyes for brown, my ins for outs, my ups for downs. If I could fall outside of time, where life has no meter and love finds a rhyme, I'd ask the mirror to confide in me. But a mirror confesses only what you see. Who's the stranger that stops to fish in the punch bowl of the chafing dish? Who rides a bicycle built for two, but pedals alone and waits for you beside a garden under the moon? If your name is Daisy, he will sing your tune. I think I wrote this in a fit of pique during my divorce. So it's called Let's Stop Pretending. Let's stop pretending I am the roof that covers your dreams. Let's stop pretending I am the curtain that hides the sun or the slow fire warming your hands. Let's stop pretending I am the kitchen that feeds your caress or the bed that steadies your embrace. Let's stop pretending you are the pillow that dries my tears. Let's stop pretending sheets of silk in summer or flannel when the weather turns are anything but gauze to cover wounds we pretend don't exist. Let's pretend instead There's a hungry lion pawing at the bedroom door. Let's pretend I send you to open it. And one woman is called Wait for the Night. Wait for the night to come, he said. Wait for the shadows to fall. Lean your ear to the wind, they whisper. Wait for the dead to call. For the dead will call, and you know them all. The names, the dates, the places, their manner of death, and what they left when memory took their places. Wait for the night when the moon is bright, and the dead will be calling for you. They'll talk of their lives, of husbands and wives, of children and how they grew. They'll laugh off regrets for the secrets they kept, the secrets that everyone knew. And you'll cry for your mother from under the covers, but she will be with them too.
That's a great turnout, wow, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read, thank you. That's better. That's okay. That works. Yeah, that's good, thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, so I'm the Poet Laureate of North Fond du Lac, the very first in the village. It was named by the Spillman Library. They have, if you haven't checked out Spillman Library, it's a fantastic library. So I'm a little partial. Okay, so I'm going to read most of my poems from my first and only collection of poems called My Heart at Ease. But the first one I'm going to do that I just wrote fairly recently here. It's called Brilliance. There's a brilliance all around us. Just wait. The grace will find us. Shouting to the highest mountaintops, I found a form of living so loving and profound. Why wait for tomorrow when we have today? So much opportunity to live, work, and play. A dangerous world in a certain way conceived, a beautiful one if one turns toward the sun and believes. A one-way morality play? It could be true. All of these joys to positively construe, way of living away from the rest, consciously and confidently, I do my best. That's brilliance. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read about 3 or 4 short poems from My Heart at Ease, published May of 2022. This one is called I Gazed at the Trees. I gazed at the trees on the golden hill, billowing soft beauty, giving me a thrill. I saw the trees of green, brilliant in the light. I tried to hold back tears with all of my might. The beauty of the earth is so very true, each of us perceiving a different hue. Welcome to the party, welcome to the dance. Life engaging life, surely more than chance. The blue sky and the clouds like cotton strands, here's the wonder, and I hold it in my hands. Hands of freedom, hands of love, hands to create, hands directly above. Here's the lesson I learned today. It's about love and truth on brilliant display. It's all about the miracle one might proclaim. Experience never so different, never quite the same. I gazed at the trees. I like writing about nature. This one is called I Find Beauty. I find beauty in the passing days. I find beauty in your winsome ways. I find beauty in passers-by. I find beauty in you and I. I find beauty in a peaceful stream. I find beauty in your eyes that gleam. I find beauty in your wistful ways. I find beauty in all of our days. I can't stop thinking it's true. The best for me is always you. I thought of that woman sitting over there for that one. That's my wife, Debbie. Okay, I got a couple more here. This one is called What is This Life? What is this life that I hold in my hand that allows me to fall or to make a stand? What is this life that helps me see the real you and the real me? What is this air I breathe? The moment vulnerable to seize that allows me to interact, to add rather than subtract? What makes it fun to do certain things, to goof around or pursue solemn searchings? What makes it more than grand to want to only hold your hand? What is this life that allows me to love, to gather the prize and partake of, to see the beauty and the wisdom of the ages, to discover where the power of the heart rages? That's what is this life. This is called Billowing Beauty. Again, kind of inspired by nature. Billowing beauty, billowing willows in my backyard, beauty evident I cannot disregard, picturesque scenery obvious to the awake, waiting for the gorgeous picture I will take. What I've discovered on my own turf, a silence, a grace, and nature unearthed, still waters of my soul, discover comfort in shade, thankful for the graceful presence it has made. Greenness captured in July's essence, Walden's inspiration, and many life lessons. Drinking up Mother Nature in a dream, I'm told, revitalizing my spirit, a pleasure filled with gold. Billowing beauty. Thanks for the opportunity to share my poetry.
Thank you, Jeffrey. See, doesn't he have a Poet Laureate voice?
Yes.
And he has a Facebook group, Poet Laureate of North Fond du Lac. And I have one, Oshkosh Poet Laureate. Those are groups where we talk about poetry, share poetry. Jeffrey has really earned the Poet Laureate position. He saw the need for it, he created it. I mean, he went, talked to people, said, this is what we need to do, this is how we go about it. He got it approved. And then there's me. They said, why don't you apply for it? And I did. So, a little bit of a juxtaposition. Okay, Susan, you're up next.
I'm a woman with a voice loud enough to cover this room without a microphone, so if I overblow the mic, I apologize in advance. My name is Susan Ems, and the poems tonight are his fault. I was at a workshop with him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, write a poem about a household chore. And the most devastating one in my life is laundry. It has morphed. I now have 9 of them. Yeah, because I decided if I was going to take one challenge, I might as well make it interesting and use as many different forms of poetry as possible for each different topic of poetry I wanted to write about. I won't hit you with all of them unless there's time at the end. I'll come back. So this is very nearly the one that I wrote the first time out. It's called Dirty Laundry. She folds the laundry neatly to hide forever stains of the screams and blood and violence which forge her brutal chains. She works to show a cheerful front when neighbors come to call. She jokes with them of clumsiness, a slip, a trip, a fall. Desperately racing through the rooms when 5 o'clock draws near, lest one small item out of place sparks his wrath, her pain, and tears. Purpled eyes, split lips, and bruises are writ large across her skin when paranoia strikes her man and rage rules the house again. Then morning comes with tears and pleas, a second chance, a third, and she, who knows no better, believes every lying word. Clotheslines filled with sheets and shirts where blood stains linger dark cry out to all the brutal truth. Her life, writ sad and stark. She gathers in. She gathers in an armful of sunshine, sweetened by summer breezes, which dance then almond left with tasseled heads of ripening corn. She spreads her harvest across their wedding bed, smoothing sweet memories across pale blue sheets. and lace-edged pillowcases. In the moonlight, she curls around the extra pillow, redolent of sunlight and grass, left arm reaching into empty darkness, where her soldier love will never sleep again. Unless you think I can only write really, really depressing poetry, I saved a couple of the goodies for the end of this little chunk. One is a haiku that I wrote called Summer Vacation. Puppy dog prints ground in mud from stealing home, ketchup dripped jersey. Purple t-shirt splashed with acrylic rainbow drops, swamp muck to the knees. The laundry basket cherishes a summer's day as dreams dance lightly. And then because I couldn't possibly not do a limerick, as the first poem I ever wrote was a limerick, I have two. The problem with not washing clothes is that they lay waste to the nose of the roommate or friend who is forced to spend their time wishing to be smelling a rose. I told my daughter, beware, with colored clothes, have a care. A brand new red shirt she washed with her dirty laundry, and now pink she wears.
Susan really actually saved me at that workshop. She did that with her clever poem. We were talking about trying to write a poem about a chore or a common thing and have it stand for something else. I did changing oil, and then how renewing a relationship with my brother was like changing the oil, and so thank goodness Susan was
We
there.
need fellow poetry lovers.
Welcome, John.
Death stands above me, whispering low. I know not what to do my ear. Of his strange language, all I know is there is not a word of fear. First poem is Freak Bird. The astute and groovy ancient Greeks believed in the transmigration of souls. They called it metempsychosis. A soul became a bird and logically flew off to Mount Olympus or San Diego. The bird always be in the word. What kind of fowl went metempsychosis? Eagle, owl, swan or vulture, sparrow, dove, parrot or crane. Like everyone has some avian connection. What mortal has not experienced having the appetite of a bird? Ugly duck, duckly transformations, ruffled feathers, or the global laying of an egg. Grooming my own soul, I envision being a blue parakeet, flying fearlessly free at last, liberated from cuddle bones, cages, cats, and hulking bipeds standing around, chirping, all that stupid Tweety bird crap. This is called Heavy Stuff. A stiff winter storm, swaying boughs bend with heavy wet snow. Inside, laden with a big dump of cold and crude memories, the old woodcutter shakes his head hard, then harder and harder, till the stubborn pine cones of his spiky heart begin to fall. This is the gospel according to Long Tall Sally. Womp, Bompalua, it's killer Jerry Lee Lewis Cole. Womp is the impactful crunch, crack, and crush of existence. Bomp is the inevitable fatal sucker punch of death. Alua is the place we go to hang out in the numberless suburbs of eternity. So get your great balls of fire in a roll. Now ready, Teddy Rock, Long Tall Sally, in the alley, ripping the roll. Womp, Bompalua. This is called You Are a Choir. Every second, somewhere, everywhere, someone is singing. Imagine if the master maestro would tap his omnipotent baton and everyone would lift their voices like a flight of skylarks arising as one. At the universal crescendo, surely, maybe, peace would flow like a river of honey out from the golden hive of heaven, dropping down on all. Sic transit gloria exo mundi. I think it's loosely translated, so goes the fleeting glory of other worlds. The Martian Times was the first news outlet to report the death of the last little green man, self-identified as the Quay Moor, the seedless. The native Quay Moorian was one Kyril Ogle, male pot healer, fungi farmer, aged 387 Earth years old. Mr. Ogle perished at home, an underground cave, after a long illness due to overhead toxic water seepage. The Quay Moor were an anomalously generated singular all-male society. Their astounding longevity was a result of arcane and complex refertilization techniques. It was not uncommon for a Morgan to achieve 800 years plus. The Quay Moor were not aggressive. They preferred living beneath the earth in quiet patches, private lives of industry, contentment, and firm hearts. The only consistent regret generation onto anomalous generation was the absence of any little green women.
This one is sort of inspired by nature. And one day, a long time ago, it's called Blue and Blue. Robin's eggs, bathroom tiles, the feathers in my mother's collection of found things. They take me back to a day, a spring day in the spring of my life. It was May, I think, could have been April. We were out barefoot, but we had tough feet. We were beating the bounds, looking for adventure in a suburban yard. Under the big oak tree in the front yard, we found it. A nestling. Nest debris now. Before, the hope of a new generation. Its bill was soft and flexible, the claws already sharp. I remember the prickle of flight feathers not formed yet under fetus solid eyelids. Its eyes were as blue as its eggshell had been. It weighed a feather's weight and taught us the heavy weight of the knowledge of death. It was our first funeral. And I thought I'd read you another one that has, I don't think I've taken this, I don't think even the people that have heard my poetry the most, which is our writers group, have heard this one because I got it published and, twice. So I don't bring it in to be workshopped anymore. I figured after you publish it twice, it can't be that bad. Okay. This is called The Answer is Foggy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain of Thought Air 375. The mind we were attempting to link to is fogged in. All connecting flights and thoughts in or out have been canceled. Since we were already in the holding pattern when the mind fog occurred, we will continue to circle and hope for an opening. We are sorry for any inconvenience this caused you, and thank you for flying Thought Air.
right, as long as you guys decided to talk about duck tonight on a spring day. Actually, it's a great poems, and I actually have one as well. And it's about one of the people that made me want to go and try to be the Poet Laureate of Oshkosh, and that was to try to remember and celebrate the small-time poets that, you know, maybe never had a chapbook. Maybe they just read it to their family and friends and gave out mimeograph copies. Those people are still important. They still make an important impact, I feel. And so their words are important. And here's a poem I wrote after Paul Christie passed away, Song of Loss. Today in a song, I heard his daughter's name, taking me back to her holding a towel to his head, another to his blistered tongue, his tremulous hand reaching for mine, his eyes blinded by pain, his path towards death, woven with madness. With irritated limbs, forced to crawl beyond and within mental illness. In the internal moment, surrounded by his family, he fell to his knees, yielded to death alone. Yet he is with me still, as I yearn to sit with Sally and talk about him. No words need to be spoken, yet we can never be done with the conversation. Patrick, please.
Hello, everyone. My name's Patrick. I'm born and raised in the 54901, as I like to say it. On this side of Oshkosh. So, the first poem here, I think, is something that was inspired recently by my experiences on kind of social media and other websites. Tentative title, I'm not sure yet, so I'll just begin. You turn on the device, radio, TV, computer, smartphone, tablet. The medium differs, the messages do not. Political polarization, environmental degradation, mass shootings, international warfare. Turn away you cannot, despite how awful the sights, sounds, feelings, and conclusions. Endless segments, stories, and shows, such as the doom scroll or to doom surf. You tell yourself to check out, but can never seem to leave. What if there were another way? Instead of addiction to despair and death, a technological thanatos drive. Replace it with hope and life. Turn your radio, scan the channels, surf the net. Searching for happiness, one segment, one story, one show at a time. Such as to Glee Fresh, a technological arrow drive. You don't need to check out, and you certainly don't need to leave. My next poem was I also attended one of Tom's workshops last year. The subject of the workshop was to create a poem based on a color. And for kind of the fantasy work that I'm working on, you know, purple is very important. So this is entitled simply Purple. Purple is majesty, preemptive action, sweeping reaction, defying faction, correctness gaining traction. Purple is rule through famine or feast, across west and east, of greatest and least, of man, plant, and beast. Purple is ruler, chosen for life, facing problems rife, avoiding killer's knife, defined by strife. Who will don the color? The existence maulers who cast all into squalor, the conservation scholars who are preservation brawlers, through pages of thick tome, read to discover, read to uncover, the possessor of purple and throne. And my last poem is something that I wrote, seeing that Earth Day is tomorrow, I believe. Yeah. something that I wrote reflecting Earth Day last year. I think it's titled Sapiens Murders. So, Sapiens murders fauna, humble to grand, no one protests. Sapiens murders flora, barren to lush, no one questions. Sapiens fractures rock, brittle to strong, no one travels. Sapiens pollutes water, droplets to waves, no one drinks. Sapiens taints air, thin to dense, no one breathes. When we cannot hunt, when we cannot farm, when we cannot travel, when we cannot drink, when we cannot breathe, we shall endure our supernova. Sapiens shall cease. Before you stumble upon emerald earth bereft of trees, before you starve beside teal tributary bereft of fish, before you suffocate under cobalt canopy bereft of air, before you explode beneath scarlet sun bereft of mercy, protect the world forms, flora, fauna, rock, water, air, storm, because they are you, they are me. As one we are, as one we belong. Otherwise, sapiens will cease to be.
Maybe I should spend more than $10 on this.
I applaud you just for spraying.
Hey, Glory is up next. Welcome, Glory, come on up. Thank you for joining us tonight. That feels nice when I treat you with it.
Perfect. Can you hear me? All the way back there? All right, good. Howdy, y'all. My name's Glory. I've got 2 poems for you today. I'm going to start with a shorter one, and this one is called What Heart Have I? Is not the sour fruit most loved by those with prickly tongues, souls made not for honey but for wine? Is not the sharp bramble most loved by those in motion, keen eyes made not for sleep but for action? The ocean, she humbles me, and my fear is the sort of love that never fades. So this poem, I want to give a quick content warning for a little bit of gore and just a little preamble. This was inspired by the famous Ophelia painting that is a pre-Raphaelite, if you know that one. I was looking at that and being very uncomfortable, and I wanted to investigate that. So I looked into some more imagery of Ophelia, kind of became a little more uncomfortable. And so this poem seeks to present the audience with that same uncomfortable feeling and to kind of sit in that without giving too much of it away. And that's called Waterlogged. Ophelia, I am thinking of you. Paintings depicting smooth white skin, alabaster fit for a necklace, tiny droplets clinging to your lashes, if you were in the water at all. But of course you were in the water. You were always in over your head, treading the waves, treading the ground. I don't want to see these pert breasts, flowing locks, slightly parted lips. Ophelia, I am thinking of you. Your story was told by a man, but what did you really have to say? He implies it was suicide or a death driven by some outdated madness, but did you really know what would happen? I don't want to hear these star-crossed romantic words that chill your bones, not yet damp, an extension of the willow branch. Ophelia, I am thinking of you. I'm thinking that you may not have known you were going to die. And laying in those waters, you'd feel a sinking feeling as you felt that tug downward. Or perhaps you did know. But even so, as the water began to reach your ears, did it tickle? Did you panic? Throw away these placid-looking glass waters. Ophelia, were they warm, temperate blood, a familiar womb? Ophelia, were they cold, the precise 32 to 40 degrees necessary for preservation? Ophelia, I know you thrashed. I know it was too late, and I know that water began to fill your lungs. So where is the obscene gurgle that you must have pushed from your lips, bitten, bloody, and worn, as water spurted from your mouth? Even as you finally went down, never to break the surface again. perhaps with an audible stillness after your wet screams have filled the air with conversation. Ophelia, I was thinking of you. How long did it take for them to find you? How long does it take for decay to set in? How long until the body floated to the surface and was a bit by bit, tiny pieces and large chunks, or as a whole relinquished from the mud to the scum? Ophelia, I am thinking of you. Were you a bloated corpse, half buggy and then slimy, flesh falling not so delicately from those quickly molding bones? Did your skin, no longer alabaster, start to pull away? Did it show which teeth you had left? Did your nail beds crack and part? Were your clothes rotting in? How much of your hair was really left? Did it disintegrate? I don't want to understand how there can be so many depictions, somehow melodic, seethingly sexual, about the air leaving your lungs, the blood rushing your head, about a last breath choked by the very thing that would have comprised over 90% of your body. Ophelia, I am thinking of you.
I'm going to try my best here. It's my first ever spoken word. I did forensics for a lot of my life, so hopefully that comes across here. I've got a shorter poem and a longer one. First poem is called Skyline. I walk to the skyline. The moon presents nothing more than a comforting glow in the spared light of the earth. Nightfall complete with all the stars shining in its glory. The sun has already gone to bed for the night while I stay up to think. I walk into the garage and I check my pockets for my things. My earbuds playing music as I feel the tears welling up inside my eyes, a burning torture that I myself must bear. What I wouldn't give to feel like you love me once again and that you care, I light my cigarettes under moonlit nights as I let them all fall out. Blurry vision through my held back chokes, all I see is universes above me. The stars beckoning for me to stare as the moon is now nowhere to be found. Constellations form as the comets connect them all. The works of whatever power holds my hands, the stars glisten through my reddened eyes. I don't want us to have to say our goodbyes. My love, walk me to the skyline. Walk me to the moon and tell me you'll walk me back. Walk me to the line and make me feel alive one last time. And this next one, I guess we're sticking with the theme of birds here. This one's called The Raven. The raven calls to me with its long and mournful scream, screaming words of a day that I do not miss. Words of a day that used to make me wish that I would have kissed you one last time. Your beak chaps my lips and it chips my teeth. Your words fill me with happiness, but the meaning of them gives me nothing but grief. A raven so black, so burned by the smoke of its past, it cannot help but burn everyone else in its path towards recovery. But my dear raven, you do not seem to realize you are only burning yourself in the end. Me and you, we are not friends. Don't cry on my shoulder, don't scream into my ear. Do not make me fear. Let's make one thing clear, you do not speak for me. Tying your beak with a string so you cannot sing, my dear, your forest awaits you. So please fly to it and not to me. Your words fill my head with ecstasy, leaving only incurable addiction in its path. Turning words into thorns and yourself into a rose so no one notices a thing. Hear me now, my dear. You might see the metal bars, but I only see the sky. For you are the trapped one here. I am free. Hear me now when I say you will not cage me. Hear my name up in lights as you soar through the air. I am one with myself, and you may plead that it's not fair. But my dear, I've been released, and I am alive. You are just a bird, a raven that refuses to fly without someone telling you to try, without reminding you why you must fly. You may see me as ugly, disgusting, and useless, but raven, I am a towering swan. A black silk swan that tilts up my neck and refuses to be with someone like you. A tiny little troublesome raven doesn't belong in a world of such beauty. You belong only where you set your nest, and mine is in love. Yours is in a rotting swarm of lies, buzzing around our horseflies, and I hope to God they sting you. I hope you see the pain that you have put me through. I will not be told how to be. I will break free from your curses, sit in the smoke of burning churches as I pray to the gods above, that you will feel guilty, that you will no longer fly, that one day you will see why I have come so far. My darling Raven, your pain has only made me stronger, so hear me when I yell, hear me when I scream under the sun that despite the things that you have done to me, I have won.
Maddie is next. That was too good to be your first time. Holy cows.
Well, that's going to be a tough act to follow. I'm Maddie, and this is also, I'm not a writer by trade, and this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So the first one is called Hideaway. She's the girl that hides behind music, books, fantasies. She's the girl telling you, take care of yourself, but she doesn't even know how to take care of herself. She hides behind a fake image to convince everyone else that she's all right. This one says, I feel like the ocean waves reaching for the shore. They continue to reach, no matter how many times they crash, no matter how many times they fall, but they never reach what they're looking for. You put yourself on this pedestal. You set expectations for yourself that you wouldn't set for anyone else. You believe no one would ever be able to understand your thoughts, your shame, things you have or haven't done. You are unique, but you are not alone. In your thoughts, in your shame, in the things you have or haven't done.
All right, so Maddie lied to us. She is an author, a writer. Oh, God. Great, perfect. Meg, come on up, please.
I have always been very short, and when I was in grade school, I actually had a growth spurt in high school, believe it or not. And when I was in grade school, the way we used to do photographs, teachers would line us up by height, so that the tallest person would go first, and the photographer could have the stool spun all the way to the top, and you could slowly spin it down. So I'm watching with this smile. That's all I could think about every single time. You should have lined us up by height, and then slow it.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, there you go. That's my suggestion. I am Meg. I moved to Oshkosh a year and a half ago-ish. Used to live in Marquette County, where we were lucky enough to have a former state poet laureate, Bruce Duffleson, and so he would do events similar to this. And so I did a few of those over there before we moved here. I am having a moment, I'm sorry. I'm not red because I'm nervous, I'm red because I am nervous, but I am red because of that. So the first poem I'm going to read is a little bit about that. And as I was sitting there waiting for things to get started, I started scratching things out and putting arrows and moving things. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to read it towards the end, but I'll do my best. We wear our lives on our faces, each line an event, a smile, a moment. To erase our lines is to erase the map of our existence. To eliminate our gray is to eliminate our struggles. We blink and the years passed, our bodies in constant state of change. We go to bed young and wake up old. The person inside will always be 25. I had one of those big birthdays this year, so.
40?
There you go. This next one is a poem that I wrote about my husband's childhood. Jack was a black lab who grew up with my husband's family. The stories of Jack are beyond belief. According to my husband, Jack was a superhero. Jack would retrieve all ducks in a single bound. Jack would carry groceries weighing more pounds than he did. With just his team, Jack would become a gate that would save small children from tumbling down the stairs. Whether or not these stories of Jack are true, Jack was indeed a special dog, and Jack was a superhero. Jack's special powers were not retrieving or saving small children. Instead, what Jack did was to take 5 prepubescent boys and teach them about love. Jack evoked tenderness in these boys at a time when the important things in their lives seemed to be all about climbing trees, throwing rocks, and terrorizing each other. Jack taught them to nurture and care for another being. Jack prepared those boys to be the husbands, fathers, and caregivers that they would someday become. Jack was a special dog, and Jack's superpower was teaching love. The next one is a haiku that I wrote. In the fall she passed. She was my sister, my friend. Alcohol took her. I have one more if I can find it. Okay. I'm doing a lot of family poems today. This poem is about my oldest son. How old are you going to be? I am going to be twins. No, how many fingers will you be? 2, 3? I want to be twins. My brothers are twins, and it's something grand. Everyone looks at them. Everyone talks to them. I'm sitting right here. I'm a really good boy. Nobody notices me. I guess I'm no longer here.
All right, my name is Alex. I wrote this piece for the first open mic I did last month. Decided I'm just going to do it again because I feel a little more comfortable now that I got one out of the way. So this is called My First Time. It's kind of the inner monologue I had with myself about how I felt my first open mic would go and how it would be received. This year is my first time in front of an ocean of eyes who by nature are required to pass judgment before they even realize they're doing so. And I'm just another human for sacrifice by society that mines under a false pretense of truth. We already know our lies. And I don't know if it's by some greater design or maybe just my hand signing I across dotted lines on lease after lease of peace I feel entitled to. But apparently I'm not. I still tie knots I learned when I was 3, but repressed trauma from 10. I bend my memories and pensive dreams just to bring love to life. Because whether you believe it or not, hate is winning. And now I'm here, doing my part, pouring out my deepest thoughts, caught off guard with this release of seething knots. This is the first time I felt free in months. I've been locked behind doors that I've opened before, but for some fucking reason, today I cannot. But then I start to wonder if I stop feeling sorry for me, will you or you finally see that I'm trying my best to be the best me I've conceived? This perception of how lessons are presented just doesn't stay cemented. And then I shake my head in clear space, it all pours from my face, and the canvas I've created becomes a muddled mistake. Another old-fashioned Wisconsin fate, becoming bitter with the cold, holding on to dreams of more, and more, and more. But before I ramble on, let me regain pace. I'm sprinting marathons once again, just trying to save face, because even the smallest validation of the words I say now that I wanted to erase relate to one person who shares the same puzzle I call brain. I just can't tame these thoughts. But when I weave this quilt of vibration, these chords created, I imagine a symphony elated by my journey to hurry my way into a space that scares even the most trained of warriors. See, I feel purpose in being a courier. I can't print my feelings on paper, but when I scribe cursive, I regurgitate emotion the only way I feel worth it. I feel like a turncoat to anxiety. My mind says I'm weak to feel joy from speaking in ironies. My ironclad armor I refuse to release keeps me safe from the thieves. But I'm the true enemy. But I guess time tells all, and with that I sound off, calling out in my heart for a round of applause. But if silence is all that follows, I just assume the words are gone. That's the cost of doing business in the era of the lost.
So this is actually the first poem in the Laundry Chronicles. It's called Cleanliness is Next to. My mother always told me clean was close to God. Everything put in its place. Always do a proper job. For years I did as I was taught. Chasing bleach filled gleam. I scrubbed and rubbed and polished till every surface beamed. One day I looked around my house, the picture of perfection, a tidiness to cover faults, a neighborly deception. It dawned on me as I stood there, Jesus challenged us to clean our hearts and souls and actions of things both small and mean. He praised Martha for her work to feed unexpected guests, and then said to her chagrin, Mary's chosen path was best. So let the laundry pile in mounds and footprints stain the floor, as long as friends and strangers find warm welcome at my door. This is actually the first poem I wrote in response to laundry. And I started with a line that has plagued me for my entire adult life. Laundry is forever. It really doesn't matter how often you do the laundry, you're wearing dirty laundry. So you're already behind. So this is actually called Requiescat in Oblivione. Rest in oblivion. Laundry is forever. Long after we are ash, swirling in every wayward breeze, when cockroaches rule the world, there will still be mounds of dirty clothes strewn in the streets where we dropped, fevered and forgotten, bleached bones ravaged by radiation, shrouded in dress shirts and ties, irradiated meat long rotted away, baskets of grass-stained jeans, dirty diapers, sheets stripped and changed, hunker abandoned in kitchens and laundromats, flap endlessly on clotheslines kissed by deadly rain. Washing machines mildew behind closed doors, paused mid-cycle by the pulse that paused the world. Dryers hoard the hope of tomorrow, now blasted into oblivion by an agony of atomic wrath, forever rupturing our now. Moldering rags become our not-so-eternal cenotaph. And as I mentioned, I was practicing different types of poetry. One of them used to be making a picture with your words.
Oh, nice.
And for those of us who have survived relationships, this one's fairly short, but it's good advice. I'd like to pass it along. It's called Try Before You Buy. 2 things challenge every relationship, or maybe 3. When one partner stands 5'6" and the other 6'1", where exactly is eye level when hanging pictures? What sort of sofa users are they? Lean against the front? Snuggle up in the corner with a book? Camelback or overstuffed?
Roomy enough for two to lie entwined. Comfy enough for one night's sleep, but not so comfy as to interfere with reconciliation. Did you know there is a right way to hang shirts in the closet? Facing them in a row of clean laundry, all looking parade left or parade right. Soldiers in a line preparing for the battle of business to come. Is allowing laundry to rest overnight in its basket a sin? No need to concern yourself about children and money and such. These things happen when they do. Adults work together to make happiness where life lands them. If you cannot get past, I love you, sofa specs, laundry consignment. Move on to the next contestant.
All right, I guess I'm gonna prove that all poets aren't romantics, like Jeffrey. I told my wife I'd read a love poem tonight, and I was just get distracted. Okay, so here it is, and don't be mad at me. It has good intentions. Love poem. In the middle of a neighborhood of small swatches of lawn sits a defunct tennis club. We walk through the open area with tall willow trees and pines that serve as fences. The courtyard of our love is filled with established trees and thick lawns where we sit on wrought iron patio furniture, which were once wore orange floral cushions, but are more comfortable now. Some love is manicured turf with trifling trees, outdoor seating on a stamped concrete pad, the power lines sewn into the ground out of our line of sight. Too much love is creeping Charlie patches with leaning fences in a bad neighborhood. Beside the garage is someone else's flower pots and broken and blooming chairs that never got thrown away. Someone means to design an urban garden or move, but do neither. We stand under our large oak tree. We've cleared the twigs with our hands and made our estate. So first of all, I want to thank Oshkosh for the opportunity to be a Poet Laureate. I thought I'd have a chance to, explore poetry, read some of my poems, but I got to hear all this poetry tonight. Even before this, I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I got to know Jeffrey. DG and I, we judged the Poetry Out Loud contest. It was great to meet him before. That was a great time watching young people. And Thomas and I are going to get to know each other next Friday. And I want to appreciate you guys for coming, spending your time, and doing a great job. Thank you for coming.